Top of the day. Today is January 5th, Thursday, 2023, and it is 2:40 a.m. I'm just recollecting on my experience in the Lambuth Center, right? I went in the Lambuth Center I think it was April 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere along those lines of 2019. And Sarai Williams was my case manager. This lady, you know, she worked well with me up until a certain extent. But then I started seeing like her attitude and the way that she was like with me because I stood up for certain things and ask questions about certain things that was being done, especially when it comes to my financial banking records. Because she kept asking me to provide like bank information. And I'm asking questions and stuff like that. Like, I'm going to cooperate with, the program of what is asked of me in this homeless shelter. But why do I have to keep presenting like all of this bank documentation? Like, you already have the information that you need. But I did everything, by the book and what I was supposed to be doing. But then, like, I noticed, like, she had, like, Kiva, because she worked real close with Kiva. I don't know what Kiva's last name is. And Maya, Kiva and Maya was in the front, and they was in charge of, like, letting people in and out the building. And it was also, like, this Chinese or Korean man. I don't want to disrespect his culture or nothing like that. But I forget his name. But they, like, rotated, you know, different people being all the way directly in the front, like where the very first front door is at, that you get buzzed into the building. And then they had this other Caucasian lady that had came on after a while. But what I noticed was their behaviors and stuff, and they started keyboard bullying. I knew what the heck they was doing, but Sarah was gunning for me after a certain period of time because, like, I don't know, she just had it out for me, and they used to just freaking like be watching me all of the time, and I'm like, why is y'all riding me so hard? Then, like, me being stressed out, like, I would tell my children, like, get your ass over there and sit down somewhere or whatever. And I guess they took that as a form of abuse, which it is verbally or whatever, but at the same time, it didn't warrant for the things that they was doing. And I knew that they was doing something shady as I don't know what. But Sarah worked real close with Kiva, and it was a couple of times like where Sarah wasn't available, where I would have go and ask Kiva certain questions about certain things, like when it came to the housing spectrum, and because I'm not from here, so she had gave me a packet full of like vital information that I needed as far as like the housing places where I could call and look into and things of that nature. And around that time, I was trying to file my employment from New Jersey and Colorado. But I don't know. It just was like real shady. But what I did notice is, like, once I had moved into my first apartment out of the homeless shelter, not too long after, like, it was just like a lot of stuff that was going on. And at first I wasn't like saying that, and I just was peeping a whole bunch of stuff. But then as I noticed as time went on, like, my landlord through Ross Management, her name is Crystal Almeida, she was charging me, and I wasn't supposed to be charged the rent that I was supposed to be being charged because my rent was being taken care of by a program. So I had called around, and the first person that I called was Stacy Galvin, because that was the person that was like sending out my bus passes and things like that when I had first got there. And I started asking questions about the program that I was in because of the COVID season. I was trying to figure out, like, once that program, when the program was ending, I inquired about a lot of stuff so that I could know how to go about, getting a job so I'll be able to pay whatever rent that I had to pay. Stacy Galvin made me aware that I had another case manager named Michael DeSalvo. So when I called Mr. DeSalvo had enlightened me about some things that I had no clue about, but it was very happy news for me. So I'm like, oh shit, okay, cool. And around that time when I was finding out this information, my mom's ass had moved over here with me, and whatever. And that was in 2020 when I had moved into my first apartment, July 1st, and I celebrated my first 4th of July in my apartment with me and my children. But a lot of strange ass shit just started like unfolding. I didn't even know that I had recording and monitoring devices in my apartment till later on down the road in the situation. But eventually I had to wind up contacting Crystal and telling her, like, listen, I was made aware that when I moved in, that's when they had started doing like the stimulus. So I had took the stimulus and I had paid up my rent for that whole year so that I would be input money down on my bills so that I had a credit to it so I wouldn't have to be worrying about that. But when I was made aware that she was overcharging me for rent, and I'm like, wait a minute. So he told me to contact the landlord back and request my deposit because, you know, I wasn't supposed to be paying the money that I was paying. I contacted her and it took her like almost 2 months to give me my money back. Like, it was always a problem. I have record of me contacting her, like all of the calls out with no responses and everything like that. I've left numerous emails. They had gave me, Mr. DeSalvo had gave me a number to contact the people downtown that was a part of, the program that I was in, so that I could get help on, reporting my landlord. I left numerous, the Metro something housing division, and no one had contacted me back from there. So like during that time, like I was making like numerous calls and stuff like that to where I actually had to go down to the housing project that actually funded my housing and reporting a whole bunch of stuff. So when it came down to me getting ready to move, once my lease was up, my the apartments that I was going to to put in for, they was giving me problems with, okaying my approval. I still got the paperwork from the initial complex that I had went to. The lady half ass filled out my paperwork or whatever. I was getting calls saying like, you have to supply this and supply that, and I'm calling and asking questions. They had gave me the runaround. I got it all written down of the key people that was involved at the housing complex that I went to put in the application in, and was making calls, and then eventually they stopped answering my calls. So I'm like, what the heck? So I went back down to who was funding my money to pay the rent and that was responsible for paying my security deposit, and like, complaining to them and letting them know like, yo, this that and the third has been going on. I submitted the paperwork to show them, like, it was like key parts and key pieces of information that needed to be signed off on. And when I had called to the apartment complex that I was trying to move into, like the lady, they said that she was new. Her name was I forget. I wrote it down, but they had started giving her flack, and then eventually they had let her go because I think this woman knew what the heck was going on, and she had asked me what my number was. No, she asked me, did was I able to receive text messages, and I was like, yeah, but she had never texted me back. So I started calling back, and then the next day after I had spoke with them, because they had was ping ponging me on the phone with all these different people and lying to me about, what actually was taking place. But I kept all of the papers and documentation. I started like documenting everything to let people know what was going on. And then I called back to Mr. DeSalvo and was letting him know, like, all of these people, the housing people, my landlord that I was staying at on the property that I was staying on, Stacy Galvin, and all of them, they all was in cahoots to try to cover up whatever the heck they had going on. And while all of that was going on, I was talking to my neighbors and stuff, and then my neighbors was like, yeah, you know, Ricky and his girlfriend, which was, her name was Melody, because Melody worked in the office and stuff like that. It was like, yeah, Melody had got fired for stealing money and all of this other stuff from residents. Then there was other clients that, other residents that lived on the property that I lived on was saying like, yeah, they was raising my rent and they asking me, well, did they raise your rent? And I'm like, nah, it's the same or whatever. It just was a whole bunch of discrepancies what was going on as far as the people that was in the office, the maintenance dude, because he was cleaning and stuff like that, but he was also cool with a whole bunch of people that lived there that was gang related and selling drugs and all type of crazy ass shit, to the point where they started gang stalking me. Ricky got mad because like that summertime I had got a pool, and I believe that was in 2021. I had bought a little pool from the dollar store, Dollar Tree. No, not Dollar Tree. It was a Family Dollar. It was like a little $40 pool and stuff like that. And me and my son, we had inflated it, and the lady Tony, I guess she was the person, like the person that watched over the property or whatever, but she lived there. Um, I guess they appointed her like the property security or watching out what goes on the property. But anywho, she had let us hook the hose up to the back of the washing machine to fill the pool up for the kids. And this was on a weekend, and I was supposed to have let it down um Sunday, but during that process, Tony had asked me could I tutor her grandsons because she was in the process of trying to get her grandsons back because her daughter was doing some old crazy stuff in a whole nother state, and she was like trying to get custody of her grandson. So she had asked me could I help them. So I had went to the Family Dollar and got like folders and papers and pencils and crowns and stuff like that. And I had already had, see, let's see, I can't even show, but I had already had these things, to help with, them learning and stuff like that, all types of little things, parts of speeches, the freaking numbers, the shapes, the weather, the world map, and all types of stuff for me to be able to help them. And I had it set up in my other apartment as well so that they can, start learning the things that they needed to learn. So when they started school, they would be where they needed to be. So by the time I had got back, I had still forgot to deflate the pool. So by the time Ricky had got on the premises, I guess he had started inquiring whose pool was it. Now, mind you, when all of this stuff was going on during that whole weekend, while the kids, was in and out the pool or whatever, it was neighbors here and there. It was the older ones that was complaining about the kids and the noise. And I'm like, they're kids. They have nothing else to do. It's like 98 degrees out here. At the time, they didn't have the playground in place in the back of the building like they have now. They waited till the freaking winter time to put up the daggone swings and the slides and stuff like that for the kids to have something to do. But prior to that, it was nothing for them to do. And like I said, it was 98 degrees outside. So I went and got the pool so that the kids could get in there and splash like they're little kids. They want to have fun too. They want to have them something to do. So anyway, that Monday, Ricky seen the pool up and he starts asking whose pool it was. So he comes and knocks on my door because I guess they was like, the neighbor upstairs got the pool and put it up or whatever. Tony didn't take no accountability for freaking plugging up the hole so that I could be able to put the water in it for him. or whatever. So everybody, everybody on some hush hush now. So when Ricky came and knocked on my door, he like, yeah, you put the pool up, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But the way he was knocking on my door, like he had an attitude with it, and then he talked about some like he called to the landlord and asked, what he should do with the pool, and he was like, she told him to take it down and throw it in a dumpster. And I said, and all of my money would have came right the heck up out of petty cash or out of your pocket if you would have took my pool and threw it in the damn trash. Now I would take it down. I don't have no problem with that. And I explained to him like I was going to take it down, but then I winded up going to go get the supplies for the little twins or whatever. So he got this little funky ass attitude, and I said, you over here complaining about a damn pool. Now, around this time is when I was waiting for his boss, which is Crystal, to send me my damn money back. You feel me? So I said, well, while you at it, ask your boss why she still ain't paid me back my daggone money as far as me paying some shit that I ain't even have to pay at the time. Tell her to give me my money back. And before he left for my door, I tell him, don't put your dick beaters on my door no more. So he got mad about that or whatever. He had a little attitude or whatever. I guess he not used to, women standing up for themselves or whatever, because he's from a culture that the women is submissive and they do everything that the man say and all this. I'm not that broad. I'm just not her. So he had an attitude about me telling him like, don't come knocking on my door about nothing petty, about nothing that deals with these children, and I'm trying to show them a good time, because ain't no parent over here trying to do nothing for their kids that's going to be worthwhile for the summertime. Like, we live in this box, then we look like we lived in Cabrini Green off of freaking Candyman. That's how the freaking complex was set up. So, you know, like, don't put your dick beaters on my door with nothing petty when it comes to these kids, because ain't nobody else trying to give these kids no type of entertainment for this summertime. It's hot as fuck out here, and I was doing something good from out of my heart. I ain't ask y'all for nothing back. Don't come. Don't ask me nothing petty about nothing. Do your fucking job. Tell your boss to do her job. Give me my money back, and we can just keep it at that. I'll go take the pool down or whatever, but you're not about to throw my pool in the trash. No, you're not about to do that. So I was upset about it. I said, you know what? I'm not going to go and overextend myself for nothing else. I still interacted with the kids from time to time until the parents and stuff of some of these children started telling their kids, like, yeah, stay away from her and this and that. While all of this was going on, I got the crazy ass broad, Bree Myers, and her dude Eric Myers, and then the other dude Benjamin and his freaking baby mom freaking Michaela. They all on some weird shit. They all getting high and shit like that. It just was a whole bunch of extra unnecessary stuff that was going on or whatever. And I think eventually they had murdered the girl Bree, because it was this mattress outside. I still got the pictures of that in my phone. It looked like blood. They trying to say that it was spray paint and all this other stuff. Then they started paying people on the property to freaking just watch me, gang stalk me, try to hack into my computers and all types of crazy ass shit. But all of this stuff started from Sarah, Kiva, Maya, fucking Caitlyn, and I forget the Korean man's name. Like, all of these people that was in this homeless shelter, like, everything started looking like it was going downhill, trickling downhill, based off of some lies and shit. Whatever the heck they was doing over there in the Lambuth Center, I don't know what the heck, but they pegged me out to be something that I was not, and I don't appreciate it. And I know that the FBI agents watch my page and stuff like that. So this is intel. Like, if y'all need to see these pictures, I took pictures of the freaking guy, Helen's son. Helen lived directly under me, and her son used to be out in the back parking lot with like Oso, and I think the man's name, I don't know whether his name was Jeremy or Tim or something like that, and the next door neighbor Terry, the heavyset lady. that had a problem with me because she thought that I was trying to get with her dude. Like, I'm celibate. I'm not in no relationship. I'm still celibate and not in no relationship. And she was trying to peg me out to be like a home wrecker. Like, I came and tried to have sex. First of all, he's not my cup of tea, miss. And I told her that, like, and I got more integrity and respect about myself. Like, back in the day, I was promiscuous, but I was a choosy promiscuous person, and I chose who I chose to give my sexual energy to. So your dude was definitely not in the running for me to even consider being with. He offered a ride because me and my children were late catching the bus. We would have had to catch 3 buses to get down to the zoo. And we had missed the bus because I thought that the bus stop closest to our building was a bus that I would have gotten on to be able to connect and transfer. When I found out, by the time we would have gotten to the bus stop, we would have been late on the admission. So the man was going down to the one of the stores there, and um he offered to have a ride because I had stopped and asked him, like, where this bus go? I mean, where this bus stop is, whoop, whoop, whoop. And he's like, it's further down the street. And I was like, damn, by the time we get there. So I started talking to my children, like, yo, by the time we get down here, we'll miss the admission by the time we get to the actual zoo. Because it was like time slots, we would have missed it. So the kids was disappointed. So the man seen it as he was coming back to the counter, and he offered to drop us off there. He's like, he knows where it's at. And I'm like, all right, cool. But I told him I didn't have any money. He offered to take us there. And then she comes to my place all fucked up and drunk and high or whatever, and like trying to be confrontational or whatever. And I'm like, miss, I'm not trying to deal with your dude. I told her exactly, like, he offered to take me and my kids. Oh, he did. And like, I noticed that, like, you can't talk to a drunk person because they are not in their correct mind. So that she tried to make it go left, but I was trying to keep, the calm cordialness of it and let her know, like, miss, I was not trying to be with your dude or nothing like that. He dropped us off at. It just was a lot, because on the way down there, she called him, she cursing him out, what the fuck, blah, 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 da, 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 da. He hung up on her, and I'm telling him, like, yo, you making this shit worse. We have to live around each other, and I don't want this woman coming to confront me about, her thinking that it's something that is not. And she winded up coming to my place later on that evening. I'm dozing off, and she banging on my door like she was crazy or whatever, but yeah, it's